Hello and welcome to this video. This is about my Keep It Simple 1d4 repertoire. I'm going to give you a quick overview how this repertoire is constructed, what's the idea behind it, and what are some key points of this approach of playing 1d4. So after 1d4, a main challenge for white is, if you compile a repertoire, to be aware of all the different move orders that black may play. So playing things in the right order is very much important for white, because black is rather flexible in his order of moves. They can, for example, start with e6, knight f6, or d5 if they want a setup that includes all the three moves. So they could start with any of the three, and in any case you have to be kind of ready for what's coming in the next couple of moves. So you have to, for example, here decide, do you want to commit the knight here? Because they could play e6, they could also play g6 next, or d5 or c5 or whatever. And this is very much important to understand. This is far less of an issue with 1e4, where the options that black has are vastly reduced. Also, there is no transposition, almost no transposition, if you play e4, let's say, and they play e5 or c5. This is never going to transpose into one another. You have kind of a set of lines for each reply, and that is kind of not connected to one another. And that is not the case with d4. For example, after d4, they could play d5 for a Dutch, and then you decide to play a move. Let's say you decide to play this, and they could also do this, and then you play this, and they play f5, and then you wonder, hey, didn't I want to play this in front of the c-pawn? And then you're already move ordered. So you need to be very much aware of all those move order ideas. Now, the solution to this is, at least the solution that I'm suggesting, is to have a set of moves that we're going to play as a default, let's say. So we only need to look at exceptions to these predefined set of moves. I suggest to basically play, no matter what black does, we're going to play the moves g3 next, like this, and they play, let's say this, and we play bishop g2, and then we usually castle and play c4 in most cases later. So I'm saying you go d4 and you fianchetto, and there are only very few exceptions to this. The only exceptions really are black playing something bad that we can immediately exploit, like b5, for example. It's better to play e4, don't play knight f3 there. In those cases, we should take the center and be happy. Or another exception, that's the second one, is black playing stuff like c5, the Benoni, where there is no good way to play g3. We should play d5 and be happy about the space. Same applies for knight f6, knight f3, c5, d5. This is also generally rather good for white, and we should be happy to take the space. In all other cases, the g3 based setup is what I recommend. And then you already are pretty sure what you're going to do the first 5 or 6 moves. And then, of course, there will be differences. It's, of course, different if black plays with d5 or with g6. But you have certain similarities in your setups. And this way, you have avoided much of mainstream theory that is going to be, that would be a big theoretical workload on you. One example for this is if black plays a d5 based setup. If you play in a more classical way with c4 first, they could, for example, take. And this is rather a lot of theory to learn. It's really surprising maybe, but it's not easy to play against the QGA. Or more importantly, if you plan to play g3 for a Catalan, they could take here, and after bishop g2, they have like 6 different moves that they can play, and they're all complicated. So I'm simply suggesting to play g3 before c4 and say, okay, I'm going to make it more convenient for me. I'm just going to castle first, and then I play c4, and then the capture is far less of an issue in terms of theoretical workload. This is just the main line. This kind of approach is, of course, not coming without a price tag. There is a small price tag to that, and this is black can try to exploit the fact that we haven't played c4 early on. And those ideas are indeed interesting, but I'm simply saying that black might know that these ideas exist. But if you are an expert in playing against that and really know what you're doing, you shouldn't be afraid of that, because you can still pose many problems. Often, black's knowledge will be sketchy. For example, a line that is often quoted as being okay for black is this one, where black prevents c4. Now, my point is, people, first of all, won't know that all that much. It's not something that is common knowledge and everybody would just play. But the second point is, people might know that b5 is okay, and it is okay. I'm not saying it's a bad move, but they don't know much more after that. And this is, for example, what I knew before I wrote this course. I even played b5 in a tournament game against a 2200 player, but after b5, my knowledge was over. I didn't know anything more. And in fact, in this game, my opponent didn't test me. But if he would have known what I know now, I would have been in trouble. I'm sure. Like after this, I recommend, for example, this sequence of moves. And now with black, you kind of have to know that you should play c5. I still think that this is a bit better for white, but if you take here, which is the most natural move, after knight takes, this is difficult for black. And in fact, you will see if you look at my course, I think that black now walks really a tightrope already to not be quite worse. So there are many, many pitfalls in those supposedly good lines that if you know them with white, then you can still pose lots of problems. And you are on your territory, not on the opponent's territory. So what the opponent is basically trying to say, okay, you play sideline, I want to really take use of that, but they are not able in a reasonably short amount of time to out-prepare you. If you know these lines well, you will still be able to pose many problems. A very recent example, actually from yesterday, from today, there was a game in the Norway chess tournament when Ding Liren played my repertoire. It was funny to see. He played exactly a line that I'm suggesting, and black was Caruana. And Caruana went for this setup. I guess he was certainly surprised that this was on the board. It's not a commonly seen opening on the top level. And the move queen c7, I'm sure Caruana's main point was, okay, I'm preventing c4 here, right? So that must be a good idea. Now, b3 played by Ding, and then Caruana played d5, only to be hit now with the move c4, takes, and bishop b2. And this is actually a novelty that now Ding can claim. I already had it in my course notes for, I think, roughly 2 months. And I knew that this was good for white, and Caruana now spent 25 minutes, but ultimately he grabbed this. He basically has to. So he grabbed this, queen takes, and now black was under huge pressure because white has such a great development, and Caruana didn't manage to save the game. So this is actually an example on the highest level. Caruana knew that this is an interesting idea maybe, but he didn't know it deep enough. He didn't know that this is a good pawn sacrifice and will actually put black under pressure. And this is a common scenario that I've experienced in my blitz games and games where I tried out the repertoire, that people sometimes know, okay, this is kind of reasonable, but they don't know it well. And this is the chance for you. So I think this is a great way to play with white. The whole fianchetto setups, by the way, they provide much safety. Yeah, you are absolutely safe with your king, and you can play a somewhat more positional game. That is something that is usually the game that the d4 players look for. People are interested in d4. It's kind of more of a build-up than trying to hack quickly. Speaking of hacking, there are also some sharp lines in the repertoire, mostly in cases where black is very ambitious. And in these kind of cases, we have to fight fire with fire. This is also what you will see in the free 1-hour video snippet that is free to download as an appetizer. That's one of the coolest lines in the whole repertoire with the anti-Chigorin. All right, so I hope you enjoyed the quick overview about the Keep It Simple 1d4 course. Go get it on Chessable. I really think it's a great way to play with white. I'm very happy to test it out myself. I already did before the release, but I think I always did it a little bit, in hiding. You don't want to give out all your ideas, and now I can freely play it as it is publicly available. Yeah, thanks for watching the video.